Did you see the ONS release figures of the number of people who had died of COVID, just COVID, in the last 2 years? 17,000. Average age, over 80.
Yes, but 80-year-olds are people too. We shouldn't disregard their importance and their worth just because of their age.
Bit of a red herring there, Boris. I'm not advocating for dismissing the significance of the elderly, a position that I can support by the fact that I volunteer at a couple of local events and charities that are aimed primarily at assisting the elderly.
Well, aren't you a saint? And I've seen this 17,000 person figure, and I personally think it's a bit misleading, because some of the people who had other things, other comorbidities, would have survived. But, COVID pushed them over the edge.
The vulnerable.
Yes, absolutely.
Why not just protect the vulnerable then? Moreover, every year respiratory viruses and flus push the vulnerable over the edge. I mean, it's a mean-spirited fact of life, but a fact of life nonetheless. It's more of an event than a story.
So, you'd have had us do nothing then? Is that what you're saying?
I would have expected an elected government in a free society to furnish the public with as much impartial information as possible, aiding their personalised risk assessment and assisting them in their uncoerced navigation of the situation.
So you'd have done nothing?
It just so happens that Sweden has a relatively new constitution, one which prevents, quite rightly, the government mandating nationwide lockdowns.
Bloody Scandinavians and their risk-taking, ultimately self-flagellating constitution that's bound to lead them into serious troubles in the future.
Those bloody Scandinavians provided a useful counterpoint to the bigoted orthodoxy of lockdown fanaticism. Their infection graph was virtually identical to every other country that did lockdown.
They're a bunch of tricky badgers.
Implying that lockdowns were not only atrociously damaging to the economy and the principle of civil liberties, but entirely ineffective.
Ah, Harry, my man. That's what I like to see. Taking things seriously and protecting others as a point of principle.
Oh, I've just started, I'm going to be wearing the mask everywhere now, just as the mandate's been lifted.
Well, what can I say? You're a model citizen. And listen to this chap. He's been supping at the nectar of cynicism this morning. I think it's great. You're showing this pandemic the respect and the fear that it deserves.
Where's your mask, Boris?
Exempt.
Oh, well, my thinking was, if you can call it thinking.
It'd be a stretch.
This is the time that is most dangerous. Now that the
mask has slipped.
Where's the protection? I felt safer when everyone was wearing one all the time. But now they're not, so the virus is probably everywhere. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an expert pandemiotrician or epidemicologist. Mental health is more my speciality. And I think I'm onto something here, Stay one step ahead of the game. The only time that I'll take this off in public would be if I was invited to a Democratic fundraiser, as long as all the staff are masked.
Yes, I've seen. Good old Pelosi, a sane mind in the political maelstrom of the moment, And you've had the booster.
Oh, yes. I've had 9 all told.
9?
Nine.
One more and you get a free latte. That was the video, and I'd be much appreciated if you'd like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Cheers. Good week, Boris.
They're getting harder by the day. Well, we've got this report coming out about gatherings at number 10 during the stricter stages of lockdown. All within the rules, mind you. But, it just doesn't look very, it's complete and utter rhubarb. Complete rhubarb. It just looks a little bit,
hypocritical.
Well, that is a word that's been bandied about by the press, but that lot can't be trusted. Just a bunch of frazzle-brained killjoys who nick the cheese but leave the pineapple.
Oh, I love pineapple on a pizza.
Oh, didn't see you come in, Harry. Oh, you've still got your mask on then. Good man.
I have it around my chin sometimes, when it gets hot and stuffy and hard to breathe.
But why wear one at all, Harry?
Well, around my chin, of course, it doesn't give me full protection, but it gives me that sense of security, knowing that I can just whip it up whenever required.
Good for you, Harry. The preservation of life and health should always be top of the agenda.
I see things aren't going that well for you still, They just don't get it. They just don't. The rules can never be the same for everyone.
I know, Harry, I know, but they don't give me a minute's peace at the moment, even with this Russia-Ukraine thing bubbling away in the background.
Well, if it helps at all, Boris, I'm not angry at you for the parties.
Well, yes, it does, my dear fellow, my amiable interlocutor, my argumentative antagonist,
I'm angry at you for locking down.
Oh.
For some reason, you found yourself at the mercy of modelers, unelected, alarmist-leaning modelers, and the glorified health and safety experts that present the data.
Now, you leave Chris Whitty out of this.
It was either incompetence or corruption that led you down the devastating path of lockdowns and all other liberty-stripping measures.
You mean safety-first precautionary methods?
And it's because of either corruption or because of a doomed attempt to justify previously taken action that you continue to listen to these wildly inaccurate boffins.
Well, what was he supposed to do? Just ignore the modelers.
Modelers don't run society, Harry.
And modelers were, a really important part of the fight against COVID-19.
You tell him, Harry. I'm starting a petition to have a statue of Jonathan Van Tam to replace that old one of Colston that they ripped down in Bristol.
At one point, I would have thought you were joking.
Well, yeah, and if America was sensible, they'd knock down Jefferson and erect a well-earned statue of Anthony Fauci, saviour of America.
We all know that modelers were essential in the fight against COVID-19. We learnt it in that song, 12 Days of COVID. 7 modelers modelling.
I thought it was 7 meddlers meddling.
The order's not important. The important thing is, Boris did the best he could do, given the advice he was given, And he's looking very well.
Yep, I've lost 7 pounds.
Oh, what a coincidence. I've lost exactly the same. What about you, Bob?
Believe it or not, I've lost 7 pounds as well.
Oh my God, amazing. M-A-O-A-M-A-O-A-M-Z-G. Amazing.
Oh yeah, amazing indeed. My fat percentage is now below that of a cashew nut.
Oh, that's always a big milestone.
That was the video.
I see you on a cloudy day, my princess. I love you from July till May, my princess. Not in June, though. I'm joking, my princess. You look great, so smoking, my princess.
Yes, great. Very moving.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit worried about this not in June joke, I think that might be a bit risky.
No, I think it's okay because you keep repeating my princess.
What's the poem called?
Not in June.
Oh, well, in that case, no, I wouldn't make the title out of it, That's pushing it a bit. I wouldn't make it the theme of the poem.
My Princess might work as a title, Harry. One which would undoubtedly suit her indoors.
I'm going to ignore that blatant racism.
Racism?
Oh, sexism, racism, same thing. But I'm going to ignore it because that was such a great idea. I never saw it.
Well, poems are hard things to pull off, I write them for Carrie. The best I get is a spaghetti bolognese, if I'm lucky.
I don't eat beef anymore. It's barbaric.
Oh, neither do I. Carrie's nutty about this stuff, If she's in a good mood, I get corn with a Q. If she's in a bad mood, the other day she'd be polenta. Bloody awful stuff.
Yeah, but it's not barbaric because polenta doesn't have feelings.
Dogs do. What about the despicably cruel, disgustingly celebrated and amply attended dog-eating festival in China?
Oh no, I wasn't criticised China.
Well, I agree, Harry. But how do you know that polenta doesn't have feelings?
You ain't got your mask today, Harry.
I've always been wearing a mask.
My apologies.
Oh, anyway, what have you been up to, me old mucker? What's keeping you busy nowadays?
Well, actually, I've been secretly working on a vaccine for unhappiness. You know, the way I see it, unhappiness is inside the body, like a virus. So why can't we get a vaccine to prevent it?
No, Harry, that's a profound false equivalence.
I'm interested, actually.
Why aren't we using more vaccines to cure more problems, like unhappiness?
Sorry, Harry, but this is a different level of insanity.
You pour the drinks, Mr. Barman. Leave the discussions to us. So, how far are you along in development?
Well, I've recently bought a book on advanced immunology.
Oh, right. So,
It was a little tricky, so I actually bought the beginner's guide to immunology.
yes, well, start from the basics and get a solid stance and, grow from there.
Which itself was a lot more difficult than the title suggested. So I went to the dictionary to look up immunology.
So you'd say you were still in the early stages of development.
So why do you think Elon Musk bought Twitter?
That's a good question.
That was an amazing question, actually.
Well, there are a couple of possible explanations. He says he wants to reinstate free speech. But where's the profit in that? And, besides, free speech is a smokescreen for hatred and racism and sexism and misogyny, more than it is a celebration of free thought and free inquiry and free expression.
Free speech is an essential component of the apparatus at the heart of a functioning liberal democracy.
But people say such mean things, you know? Free speech is fine when it doesn't offend anyone. That's what I say.
Free speech is always discussed in relation to offensive behaviour, Harry. Otherwise, it doesn't come into consideration. It's either free or it isn't.
Yeah, but I'm not so sure about that one, matey. Free speech can have certain limitations, and I believe in them. I no doubt that Elon Musk will have a code of conduct of sorts, unless he's just going to let the thing run wild with conspiracy theories.
And misinformation.
Yes, Harry, the kind of stuff this guy likes to chuck around. Actually, sorry, we're having a nice conversation. That was a little bit below the belt. Apologies.
Not to worry.
But, back to the subject at hand, it could prove to be dangerous insofar as it inflames the already treacherous position the government finds itself in trying to stamp out misinformation. If Elon Musk lets all the lunatics back on Twitter, come on. Can you imagine?
So you're fretting about the government losing a monopoly on truth and information.
Yeah, but wouldn't you?
Without free speech, voters cannot hold the government to account if they indulge in wrongdoing. God forbid.
See, we're going down the conspiracy route again.
Only a politician or a member of the established media class could assign ridicule to the idea that the government would indulge in wrongdoing, corruption, or obscene malpractice. For the rest of us, it is a ubiquitous fact that we build most of our political conversations upon.
Oh, well, everyone knows it, do they? They're all just a bunch of scoundrels.
Your word.
That's a common belief, I suppose.
Yes, Boris, especially now. I don't know what politicians of old were like, maybe they were different. But nowadays, the purpose of a politician is to explain all naturally occurring phenomena as a lack of government intervention.
Well...
To reposition personal accountability beneath the shade of a virtuous government.
Well...
Judged as so by them, then used to justify the censorship of information and the silencing of dissenting voices.
My head is starting to hurt. So, I heard you got caught checking out Angela Rayner's legs.
No, not at all. Not at all. It was all based on some malicious rumour reported to the media by a rebellious Conservative MP, trying to imply that the Right Honourable Lady was trying to distract me with those delightfully chunky and deliciously toned legs.
Sound quite the admirer, Boris.
No. Did it happen again? Oh, God. That happened the other day when I was trying to explain my innocence to Carrie. When I snapped out of my trance, I tell you, I was greeted with the face of Medusa herself.
Oh, no. Well, I've never met Medusa, so I can't say. But how did you bring her back round?
I didn't. We're divorcing. We're moving out Sunday. No, only joking.
I'll bet you promised her more influence over government policy on the issues she's concerned with.
No, I didn't.
I blame myself. Megan says I've been a bit distant recently.
Distant?
Yeah, distant. You know, like, not present.
What does that even mean?
Exactly how are you not present? Harry? Harry?
See? It happened again, didn't it? How did that make you feel?
You might be a lousy ambassador for social change, but you got some skills.
You really weren't present there, were you? Oh, bizarre stuff. Yes, I can see how living with that would become disconcerting.
He's David Copperfield.
Yeah, but you shouldn't take all the blame, Harry. I mean, you two have been on a rough ride now for a while. I mean, not together, of course. You always look, perfectly happy. But at the same time, you've been hit pretty hard by the media.
Racists.
Agreed, probably. But the most important thing is that you keep pushing your wokenomic wokery at exceedingly high levels of wokelitude for a woketastic conclusion.
Didn't you just recently speak out, Boris, in support of women's sport in conflict with the trans lobby?
You are? Hold on. I can explain. We can't have biological male swimmers beating female swimmers by multiple lengths. It's too obviously insane. It damages our pores. If we want to ram through all the other woke stuff, we need to bail out of the manifestly ludicrous bits,
Yeah, but poor transgender women will be deprived of the opportunity to compete against the gender they identify with.
Yes, but that'll only be a handful in comparison to all the sports women. I mean, you got to know when to jump off the ship. I mean, take a step back here. This is too in your face. I mean, it's provable lunacy. It's not surreptitious, degradation of standards, and that's fine. But when it comes to this, no, people kick back against this. Even I do.
Yeah, indoctrinate at a more manageable level at schools through education, blurring previous distinctions to rewrite the brain during the more formative years.
Something like that. Yes, it's for the best. Necessary, I'm afraid. And Barman doesn't think we should embrace any new ideas. He wants to hold on to outdated ones.
Do you think the family unit is an outdated idea?
Well, not exactly, but I'm open to amendments, however, to our comprehension of child development and how a slowly actualizing recalibration of the parent-state relationship might help meet the goals of society.
What are the goals of society?
But I like the family unit. What's wrong with the family unit?
Nothing at all, but just a slow evolution, perhaps, maybe, to safeguard against a family unit stewing in the brothy bile of bad ideas, and that's all. If you're good and decent, then you have absolutely nothing to fear, nothing to worry about at all.
Oh, great.
Besides, it must be a bit difficult being with your family unit all day, most days.
Oh, I personally love to spend more. But Megan, she's so sweet. She's so sweet. She spends most of the day avoiding me. And it's amazing. Most of the day, actually. Amazing.
Well, yes, of course. I mean, if I lived with her, that's exactly how I'd want it. Yeah. Oh.
Oh, no. What Megan says is that the less time we spend together, the more extra special and amazing it is when we do.
Yes, well, it's a basic supply and demand when you think about it.
Look, after you've gone onto the website and the Patreon page, go, subscribe, like, share, notification bell. Hello friends, for those of you who enjoy our content and would like to see more videos released more regularly and with greater variety, we'd very much appreciate you considering supporting the channel. I've left 2 links in the description box below, one to Patreon, where you can sign up for monthly support, and one for PayPal, where you can make a singular donation if that would be your inclination. Thank you very much.